Hey, brother. How you guys doing? I guess the last full video we put out, we painted Donnie's car at the end of last summer. We were going to shoot for doing mine at the end of the year, but what ended up happening was we went out way the hell out to Dylan's boss's place. I blew a head gasket actually on the way back, but I was pretty sure my motor had something going on with it before. I had some pretty loud fucking noises coming from down under. I don't know. I was kind of thinking wrist pin because I had given it, they call it a honey treatment. Usually if you have like a rod bearing or a main bearing failing, you can kind of get away with doing a honey treatment and, you know, riding out for like at least a couple 100 miles, if not a couple thousand. But I did this honey treatment and the noises got a ton worse. As I was rebuilding the motor, I found out why. And that came off my Corona the first time around. And I just kind of kept rebuilding it. I don't know, I kind of thought of it as like, oh, as long as it's not broken, it's probably fine. But so if you see there's some gnarly deep gashes up in the front of this oil pump that cause it to have so much play. Yeah, I got Donnie's car done. My motor decided to kick the bucket. So I picked up the truck January last year and it was doing great for a little while. But I ended up at some point having some starter issues that I was running into. At one point, I actually broke the nose cone like clean off of the starter. It was pretty surprising. I've never really seen anything like that. And so I figured there was something else going on. That the crank had a failing thrust bearing, or at least what I thought was a failing thrust bearing. And there was a whole shitload of play in the crank, all the way through to the transmission into the torque converter. So you could actually see, like, you push the torque converter forward, and you push it back off the engine, and it had a good 1/4 inch, maybe 1/8 inch of play. It was pretty bad. The crank actually started to eat itself away on the thrust bearing. So it was actually the crank that was giving me the play. So the crank was toast, and it looked like it had been balanced by like a tweaker because there was like a bunch of shitty welds in all of like the balancing holes. My fucking stellar machinist Randy had a whole shitload of 350 cranks sitting around his shop. So we went around until we found one that was like roughly in clearance, and then he polished it and sent me on my way with a fresh crank for like $75. Randy saved my ass there. So that one wasn't too bad. Truck's been doing great ever since. But so now I've finally started going back to this shit and piecing this together. I just got the head back from Randy a couple weeks back, and I guess all the exhaust valves were leaking, and like 2 of the intake valves were leaking. Yeah, let me just show you guys some of this shit. So Brandon's Datsun decided to kick the bucket after we rebuilt it, which was like, not very nice of it. So we pulled the motor out because this freeze plug had gone out. So yeah, that's the Datsun in a nutshell. We got to spray that motor out. New freeze plug beaten back in. This was the one that came out. So the engine is most of the way on its way to getting broken in. I still need to pick up a oil line to hard line into the cab for my oil pressure gauge. And then the oil for my break-in is actually on the way. So I probably have maybe another week, and after that, it'll be on its way to paint. So hopefully within the next month or two here, if we can make it to Old School Reunion, I'm gonna shoot for it. But yeah, it's a little up in the air right now. We'll see how it goes.